Could a girl who lives on the streets face humiliation and still shine in a talent contest? Discover how courage and music can change everything. The cold morning wind cut through the narrow streets of the city, but Hannah seemed almost oblivious to it. Her bare feet made little noise on the worn cobblestones as she carried with her the most battered guitar she owned, her most precious possession. At just 10 years old, Hannah already knew more about life on the streets than many people would in a lifetime. Every corner had a smell, a sound, a story, and she knew how to navigate them with a cunning that would impress even the most experienced adults. In the main square, the activity was starting to pick up. Workers on their way to their jobs, vendors shouting out their fruits and breads, the distant sound of cars and honks. All of it formed a familiar soundtrack for Hannah. She settled beside the fountain, opened her guitar, and began plucking a few simple notes, singing softly. Each chord seemed to fill not only the air, but also the emptiness in her heart. Few passed by without noticing the girl in worn clothes, but those who stopped and dropped coins into Hannah's makeshift hat rarely left without a smile. As she sang, a familiar laugh came from behind her. Jamie, her best friend and street adventure partner, ran up, balancing quickly over the uneven cobblestones. "Good morning, Hannah. Did you bring some bread?" he asked, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Hannah smiled, tucking away a recently received note. "Not yet, but if we keep at it, we'll get some for breakfast." Jamie sat down beside her, leaning on his hands, and together they watched the city wake up. Despite all the hardships, there was a sense of companionship in that moment that made everything more bearable. They were more than friends. They were partners, protectors of each other. Two kids supporting one another in a world that often seemed hostile. It was at that moment that Hannah noticed something that made her stop plucking the strings. On the square's lamppost, taped with clear tape, was a colorful poster announcing a children's talent contest. "The Great Little Stars Show. Open registration for children ages 7 to 12. Show your talent and take the stage," read the main line in big, eye-catching letters. Hannah approached, her eyes shining with a mixture of curiosity and hope. She read and reread the poster, feeling her heart race. A talent contest. Someone was offering a chance to be heard, to show her talent to the world. Even knowing she didn't have fancy costumes, makeup, or anyone to help her, Hannah felt a spark of dream ignite inside her. Jamie leaned over to read it too and murmured, "You'd crush it, Hannah. Everyone would hear you." She smiled, but the euphoria gave way to the harsh reality that always followed her. How would she register? How would she get there? But more importantly, how could she believe that someone like her had a chance? Still, the idea of trying was irresistible. While Hannah jotted down the registration address on a crumpled piece of paper, some neighborhood kids approached. They were well-fed, dressed in clean clothes with shiny shoes, a stark contrast to Hannah's worn outfit. One of them, a blonde girl with a haughty expression, gave her a curious, mocking look. "Look who's trying to compete with us, the street girl," she said, with a low, scornful laugh. The other kids laughed along, murmuring mean comments. Hannah felt a tightening in her chest, a mix of shame and anger. She knew this would only be the first of many humiliations, but she also knew she couldn't let their teasing keep her from what she wanted. With a deep sigh, she stood, gripping her guitar tightly. "Come on, Jamie. Let's try. We can't let them bring us down." The boy smiled confidently, and together they headed toward the contest registration location. Hannah kept in her mind every note she played, every song she sang in the streets. Her music would be her voice and her courage. At the registration site, Hannah watched other kids arrive in shiny costumes and delicate makeup. Every detail made her feel even more different, but instead of giving up, she held her guitar close to her chest. She introduced herself firmly, giving her details while hiding, as always, the reality of her life on the streets. To her, this moment wasn't just about winning the contest. It was about being heard, about proving that her music mattered, regardless of where she came from. After a few days of anxious waiting, Hannah received a simple letter, delivered in a modest envelope, enough to make her tremble with emotion. She had been accepted. Her name was on the list of participants. Her heart raced, and Jamie jumped for joy beside her. Hannah knew she was about to enter a completely new world, full of rules, rivalries, and challenges she couldn't yet imagine. Still, gripping her guitar tightly, she felt a growing confidence. She didn't have much, but she had her music, her courage, and Jamie's friendship. Nothing could take that away from her. Hannah took a deep breath and looked at the city skyline, where the buildings gleamed under the morning sun. The stage awaited her, unknown and full of opportunity, and she was ready to take the first step, unaware of the trials and surprises still to come. The contest bus stopped in front of a tall, gleaming building, completely different from the streets Hannah was used to walking. Her hands clutched the guitar tightly as she stepped down cautiously, feeling each heartbeat like a drum announcing what was to come. Jamie was at her side, eyes wide with curiosity, but also with the typical worry of someone who knows the world isn't always kind. The participants' dormitory was impressive. Wide hallways, walls painted in soft tones, neatly organized lockers, and perfectly made beds. But the beauty of the place brought little comfort. Hannah quickly realized that every detail seemed to scream the difference that left her exposed. Her worn and dirty clothes stood in stark contrast to the pristine costumes and sparkling accessories of the other girls. Rachel, a blonde girl with a haughty posture and a disdainful gaze, was the first to approach. Seeing Hannah, she raised an eyebrow and gave a sly smile. "Well, look who decided to show up. I guess they brought the street girl to play talented," she said, mocking. The other girls giggled quietly, some whispering and subtly pointing at Hannah. Hannah felt a tightness in her chest, a mix of shame and fear. For a moment, she wanted to disappear, to curl up in the farthest corner and forget this opportunity that suddenly seemed so threatening. Jamie, noticing her discomfort, briefly held her hand. "Don't let them intimidate you, Hannah. You have talent, remember?" he whispered. She took a deep breath, drawing strength from his words. Entering the dormitory, Hannah found a space divided into small beds, each with a uniquely decorated locker. She chose the last bed in the farthest corner, trying to create a barrier between herself and the more influential group in the dorm. She carefully took her guitar out of its case and sat at the edge of the bed, plucking low, soft notes, almost like a prayer to herself. Music was her refuge, a world where no mockery or disdainful glance could reach her. As Hannah tried to get accustomed to the space, a different presence entered the room. Martin, the host and owner of the contest. Tall, elegant, with a smile that hid more sinister intentions, he walked through the dorm with calculating eyes, taking in every detail. The girls greeted him with reverence, some visibly nervous. Hannah felt a chill run down her spine. There was something about this man that suggested nothing happened there by accident. Martin stopped near Rachel, his voice soft but firm, echoing through the dorm. "I expect all of you to give your best. Every talent will be observed, and some performances deserve to shine, while others, not so much." Rachel smiled victoriously, as if she already knew she was on the right side of this game. Hannah, feeling the weight of the words, hugged her guitar closer, determined not to be shaken. Over the following days, Hannah began to notice patterns that unsettled her. Some children were instructed by their own parents to ridicule or hinder the humbler participants, those without expensive costumes or influential connections. Rachel and her group never tired of dropping subtle insults, malicious comments, and quiet laughs, each carefully aimed to undermine Hannah's confidence. During one moment, while preparing for a rehearsal, Rachel subtly shoved Hannah as she commented to the other girls, "I don't know. I don't think she should be here. She doesn't really belong in this contest." The effect was immediate. Some girls looked at Hannah with curiosity or disdain, and the feeling of isolation tightened around her heart. Despite everything, Hannah refused to give in. Every time she felt humiliated or excluded, she plucked her guitar, murmuring soft songs, remembering Jamie and the streets that had taught her resilience. She knew her talent was her weapon, her shield, and her solace. In a way, each humiliation became fuel to show who she truly was. During a group rehearsal, Hannah saw an opportunity to stand out. While the other girls fussed over costumes and makeup, she focused solely on her music. Bravely, she began to play and sing a simple melody, yet full of emotion. The room fell silent. Some children looked away, uncomfortable, while others leaned in discreetly to hear better. Among the judges observing the rehearsal, some furrowed their brows, intrigued by the intensity and sincerity of Hannah's performance. It wasn't perfect technique or artificial shine that drew attention. It was the truth in every chord, the raw emotion that overflowed from her hands and voice. For the first time, she felt her music could transcend differences, even in the face of constant bullying and provocation. Rachel, noticing Hannah beginning to receive favorable glances, frowned. A pang of envy mixed with anger flashed in her eyes, and she pressed her lips together, silently planning her next attempt to undermine Hannah's confidence. Hannah noticed the hostile glint, but took a deep breath, standing firm. She couldn't control others, only her music, her courage, and her heart. As the rehearsal continued, Hannah realized that this dorm, despite rivalries and humiliations, was also a place of learning. She began to understand the unspoken rules of this world, the power games, the judging looks, and she started turning each difficulty into strength. Her guitar, ever present, seemed to whisper that anything was possible when one held on to truth and passion. The day ended with Hannah feeling a strange mix of exhaustion and excitement. She knew she would face even more challenges in the days to come, but she also understood something essential. She could shine without becoming someone she was not. And somehow, this certainty sparked a quiet hope that even among enemies and traps, her music would have a voice. At the end of the rehearsal, as Hannah put away her guitar and prepared for dinner, she noticed some judges still whispering among themselves, casting discreet glances in her direction. She felt a spark of confidence grow within her, while Rachel crossed her arms, eyes fixed on her, clearly plotting the next provocation. The dormitory, with all its rules, rivalries, and tensions, was just the beginning of a test that went far beyond talent. But Hannah was ready to face it, holding her guitar tightly and remembering every note that made her who she was, prepared to turn every humiliation into music and courage. The morning sun illuminated the dormitory, but to Hannah, it seemed as though the daylight only highlighted the contrast between her and the other girls. The large hall beside the room was filled with makeup artists, hairstylists, and designers, all busy transforming each participant into a little sparkling star. Hannah watched carefully as the girls laughed, exchanged comments about clothes, makeup, and hairstyles, and admired each other with pride and excitement. Every colorful dress, every carefully placed bow seemed to shout the difference between them and the girl in simple clothes, slightly messy hair, and worn shoes. Hannah hugged her guitar tightly, as if holding the instrument could shield her heart from the sense of being out of place. That guitar was more than wood and strings. It was her voice, her courage, her reminder of the hard days on the streets, of the small victories earned through music and creativity. Surrounded by glitter and luxury, she remembered the afternoons when Jamie, her street friend, accompanied her as she played improvised songs in the squares, and the coins that fell into her hands felt like silent recognition of the talent she carried with her. As Hannah remained quietly observing, Rachel approached with her group, laughing mockingly. She looked at Hannah and, with a deliberately cruel smile, said loudly to the other girls, "Look, the street performer has arrived. Think she can really compete with us?" Some of the girls laughed timidly, while others glanced at Hannah with a mix of curiosity and pity. Hannah felt a tightness in her chest, but she took a deep breath and held her guitar close, remembering what Jamie always said, "Those who have music in their hearts never lose themselves." In the corner of the room, Martin watched everything with sharp, calculating eyes. He wasn't just the host. He was the owner of the contest, and he knew exactly how to turn seemingly simple situations into controversies and stories that would grab the audience's attention. Spotting Hannah alone, simple and vulnerable, a cold smile formed on his lips. He was already planning ways to humiliate her on stage, ensuring the audience's emotions would be manipulated and the show would become even more dramatic. Beside Rachel, he whispered, "Let's teach this girl what our world is like. A surprise on stage will be more than enough." Rachel heard him, her eyes gleaming with malice. She was already planning every detail, imagining the satisfaction of seeing Hannah embarrassed in front of everyone. A carefully hidden bucket of paint would be the perfect instrument of humiliation. Despite the tense atmosphere, Hannah found small lights amid the tension. Some girls, shy and sincere, approached her, offering words of encouragement and small gestures of friendship. One of them, Clara, with curly hair and a timid smile, said, "Don't mind them. I know you're going to shine. Your music is beautiful." Hannah smiled gratefully, feeling a warm glow in her chest, but the shadow of fear still lingered. Rachel and Martin were constant, silent, threatening presences, and Hannah knew that any misstep could be used against her. During a break in rehearsals, Hannah sat on the dorm floor, leaning against the cold wall, and let her memory take her back to the streets she knew so well. She remembered Jamie running beside her on the sidewalks, inventing little adventures to escape hunger and cold. She recalled nights hiding under awnings, singing softly to chase away fear, and mornings when the coins tossed into her guitar case meant more than money. They meant someone had noticed her effort and talent. Each memory, each small triumph of survival, became strength and determination within her. Hannah took a deep breath, feeling the strings of her guitar as if they were an extension of her own heart. She knew that even in the face of luxury and the arrogance of the other girls, her truth was there, ready to be shared. It didn't matter if the audience looked at her with prejudice or curiosity. What mattered was that she wouldn't run, wouldn't hide, and her music would be heard. In the dorm, as she mentally adjusted her posture and silently practiced a few chords, Hannah began to imagine the big day. The stage, the lights, the audience waiting eagerly. Everything seemed both frightening and exciting at the same time. She remembered the warmth of the streets, the afternoons of music with Jamie, and a quiet determination began to grow inside her. She wouldn't just be another participant. She would be the girl who sang with all her truth, no matter the cost. She closed her eyes for a moment, holding the guitar against her chest and promising herself that no matter what Martin or Rachel planned, she would sing with her heart. Every note would reflect her story, her pain, and her joys, proving that true talent doesn't depend on clothes, money, or status. As the dorm shadows stretched with the approaching evening, Hannah looked at her reflection in the mirror of her makeshift room. Her eyes were determined, her chin held high, and a spark of courage shone in her gaze. Fear was still there, but it would no longer be enough to stop her. She knew the next day would bring enormous challenges, but also a unique chance to show the world who she truly was. Hannah took one more deep breath, plucked the strings of her guitar softly, and felt the music resonate inside her. She promised herself that when she stepped onto that stage, every note would be her truth, every chord a memory of the streets, of Jamie, and of the girl who never stopped dreaming. She was ready. The big day was approaching, and with it, the tension, the intrigue, and the chance to change Hannah's life forever. As she watched the dorm lights turn on and the city outside begin to darken, she held her guitar tightly and let her heart fill with courage, knowing that nothing, not Martin, not Rachel, nor inequality, could ever silence her voice. The big day had finally arrived. The sky was clear, but inside the massive theater, the tension was almost tangible. Backstage, the lights shone brightly, reflecting off the sparkling costumes of the participants, the carefully tuned instruments, and the outfits prepared for the big show. Hannah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of expectation and the buzz of the audience gathering in the seats, eager for the contest to begin. Every step she took through the backstage corridors reminded her of the distance between her world and that of the other girls. The luxury, the expensive makeup, the flawless shoes, and confident smiles. She held her guitar tightly, as if the instrument were a shield against the silent intimidation that seemed to hang in the air. Rachel, in her elegant dress and flawless makeup, moved among the participants with a deliberately sweet smile. But behind that smile was a fierce tension, a clear intention to make sure Hannah didn't have the slightest chance of shining. Beside her, Martin watched everything with sharp, cruel eyes, already plotting the perfect humiliation. A bucket of white paint, carefully hidden behind the stage, was to be the instrument of public embarrassment. Martin believed that by humiliating Hannah, he would not only boost the audience, but also reinforce the idea that only those who fit a certain standard could triumph. During the final rehearsals, Hannah felt her heart racing. She could hear Rachel and the other girls stifling their laughs, whispers, and malicious comments drifting across the corridor. But every time she pressed the guitar strings, she remembered Jamie and how he had always encouraged her on the streets, even when life seemed impossible. Music was her refuge, her courage, and her connection to a world where justice and love still existed. The host announced the first participant, and Hannah felt her palms sweat. When her name was finally called, she walked onto the stage with firm steps, trying to ignore Rachel's mocking gaze and Martin's calculating presence. The audience's applause was mixed. Curiosity, surprise, and a slight anticipation to see the simple girl among so many flawless contestants. Hannah took a deep breath, adjusted the guitar against her body, and prepared to play. And then it happened. At the exact moment she strummed the first notes, a bucket of white paint fell from above, drenching Hannah in an instant of shock and humiliation. The audience reacted with surprised laughter and some disapproving whistles as Hannah felt the cold, heavy liquid dripping over her hair and clothes. For a moment, she hesitated, paralyzed, her guitar almost slipping from her arms. But the memory of Jamie, her little victories on the streets, and the courage she always carried inside her made her straighten up. She took a deep breath, wiped her face with her soaked sleeve, and let her music speak for her. Each chord resonated with raw emotion. Each note carried the sincerity of a girl who had never given up, who had faced hunger, loneliness, and prejudice. Hannah sang from her soul, her voice filling every corner of the theater, bringing the audience to a respectful quiet. The laughter and boos began to fade as her music enveloped the room, touching hearts in a way Martin had never anticipated. The judges, initially tense and uncertain at the audacity of the humiliation, began leaning forward, captivated by the authenticity of her performance. Each surprised expression, each emotional glance, reinforced Hannah's certainty that no matter what Martin or Rachel planned, her music had power, and her truth was undeniable. As she played, Hannah felt something strange, a familiar sensation, a dormant memory awakening amid the notes. Among the faces in the audience, a couple leaned toward each other, exchanging emotional glances and whispering. Philip and Lily, who years before had found a lost girl on the streets and thought they would never see her again, immediately recognized the melody Hannah was playing. It was the same song they used to sing to their daughter, a unique and special tune carrying deep memories of love and hope. Their hearts raced, and tears streamed down both faces. At that moment, they realized that Hannah was not just a talented contestant, she was their missing daughter, alive before their eyes. Still unaware of the couple's reaction, Hannah continued to sing, pouring every note with her deepest emotions. The music was her refuge, her weapon against fear and injustice, and now, unintentionally, it was also the bridge reconnecting an entire family. The audience began to sense Hannah's intensity, authenticity, and courage, and a reverent silence settled over the theater. Some judges could no longer hide their emotion, while others exchanged surprised looks, impressed by her ability to transform humiliation into pure art. Martin, at the side of the stage, realized his plan had failed. Rachel's sarcastic laughter disappeared, replaced by an expression of disbelief and restrained anger. No bucket of paint, no provocation could diminish Hannah in that moment. On the contrary, each obstacle she faced only reinforced the grandeur of her performance. The audience, captivated by the girl's strength, began to applaud timidly at first, but soon the applause grew, filling the theater with recognition and admiration. On the stage, Hannah felt the weight of everyone's gaze, but not as a threat. It was a tension that respected her courage. The notes flowed naturally, each chord carrying the story of her streets, her small joys and pains, and the hope she had always kept alive. Philip and Lily, tears in their eyes, drew close to each other, emotional and hopeful, realizing that they had finally found the missing daughter they had been searching for. Hannah didn't yet know that she was about to be recognized, but her heart was already beating with a newfound confidence, with the sense that finally, every struggle, every tear, every moment of loneliness had been worth it. She played not only for the audience or the judges, but for the girl who had always existed within her, for Jamie, for the streets that shaped her, and for the life that still awaited her beyond the stage. The contest, which had begun with fear, tension, and humiliation, was beginning to transform into something bigger than any script could have predicted. Hannah, even drenched in paint and surrounded by curious eyes, proved that courage, talent, and truth are forces capable of overcoming any obstacle, and that music, when born from the heart, can touch souls and change destinies. The music filled the space when, suddenly, two familiar faces appeared in the audience. Philip and Lily, eyes glistening and hearts racing, could not contain their emotions. Recognizing the song echoing across the stage, they immediately realized that the girl, covered in paint and holding a guitar, was the daughter they had lost years ago. Without thinking, they ran toward the stage, crossing the reserved area, ignoring the authority of the host and the contest's logistics. Every step seemed to quicken Hannah's pulse, though she was still focused on her music, sensing that something extraordinary was about to happen. The audience, initially confused by the intrusion, watched in silence as the scene unfolded before their eyes. Hannah lifted her gaze and met the eyes of Philip and Lily. A mix of surprise and recognition swept across her face, and for a moment, the music seemed to pause in her mind while her heart raced. Philip stretched out his arms, and Lily, tears streaming down her face, called her daughter by name, her voice full of hope and emotion. Hannah didn't hesitate. She ran into her parents' embrace, feeling the hug she had imagined countless times during years of loneliness and uncertainty. The audience reacted immediately, emotional gasps, applause, and tears appearing on the faces of strangers who somehow felt the intensity of the reunion. Martin, standing at the side of the stage, furrowed his brow, incredulous and furious. His plan of humiliation had failed, and now the scene was turning into a spectacle of reconciliation and emotion that he could not control. He shouted, trying to regain command, but his voice sounded weak against the audience's reaction. Hannah, still wrapped in her parents' arms, felt a wave of strength flow through her. The fear that had followed her since the beginning of the contest disappeared, replaced by a confidence born from reunion and the love she felt in that moment. She stepped back slightly, lifted her guitar, and with a smile that lit up the stage, continued to play and sing her song. Each chord now resonated not only with her story of streets and struggles, but with the joy of finally being with her family. The audience was completely captivated. Initial surprise gave way to collective emotion, spontaneous applause, cheers, and tears freely streaming down the faces of both adults and children. Hannah played with joy, with emotion, and with the strength that only truth and reunion could provide. The tension that had once threatened to suffocate her transformed into positive energy, a force that made each note resonate even more intensely and sincerely. Martin, unable to control the situation, completely lost his composure. He shouted orders for Hannah to be disqualified, pointed at the judges, demanded that the audience calm down. But every attempt only fueled general indignation. Philip, firm, approached the host, staring at him with determination. His voice, now strong and authoritative, echoed through the theater. She will not be disqualified. She is talented, courageous, and belongs to a world far bigger than any manipulation you could have imagined. The audience, realizing the confrontation, responded with thunderous boos directed at Martin. Protests began to form, hands raised, cries of rejection against the injustice and cruelty he represented. Martin tried to regain control, but it was too late. His cold calculation gave way to uncontrolled rage as he realized that his carefully constructed image, built over years, was beginning to crumble before everyone's eyes. Journalists, sponsors, and spectators started questioning his conduct, some already recording the scene on their phones, instantly sharing the humiliation and failure of the host. Each of Martin's shouts was drowned out by the public's clamor, united against him, demanding justice and transparency. Meanwhile, Hannah, guitar resting on her lap, continued to play. Each note was filled with strength and freedom. Each chord seemed to erase the shadow Martin had tried to cast over her life. The judges, now emotional, exchanged looks of recognition and approval. The courage of the simple girl from the streets transformed the contest into something far greater than a mere talent show. It was proof that authenticity, courage, and family love could overcome any cruelty or manipulation. Philip and Lily did not take their eyes off their daughter. The reunion had filled the void they had carried for years, and Hannah's music seemed to seal the moment of reconnection. Feeling the presence of her parents and the positive energy of the audience, Hannah found a newfound confidence. Every chord resonated with her own story, with the life that had shaped her, and now with the certainty that she was no longer alone. The stage, once a place of fear and uncertainty, had transformed into a space of freedom and celebration. Martin, for his part, began to face the immediate consequences of his actions. Sponsors withdrew from the event, expressing disapproval of his attempt to humiliate Hannah. His reputation, built over years of manipulation and spectacle, quickly crumbled. Every aggressive gesture, every shout, only reinforced the public's perception that he no longer held authority or respect. The backstage chaos mirrored the complete collapse of his empire of control, while Hannah continued to shine on stage, more confident and radiant than ever. When the final note echoed through the theater, Hannah lifted her head and looked at Philip and Lily. The recognition and love in their eyes confirmed that everything had changed. She was no longer just a street girl facing challenges. She was a beloved daughter, reunited, and could now embrace a future full of possibilities. The audience, moved, rose to their feet, celebrating not just the music, but the victory of courage, truth, and love over injustice and cruelty. Philip, with a firm voice, officially acknowledged Hannah as his daughter, announcing to the audience that the girl had finally returned to her family. The theater erupted in applause and joy, and the tension that had marked the entire competition transformed into a collective celebration of justice and familial reconnection. Hannah, now safe in her parents' arms, felt that every struggle, every tear, and every challenge had been worth it. The reunion not only changed her life, but also showed everyone that courage, talent, and true love always find their way. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Philip and Lily's home, filling the room with a soft light that seemed to celebrate every new beginning. Hannah woke to the distant sound of birds and the aroma of fresh bread from the kitchen. As she opened her eyes, she felt something she had never imagined experiencing so fully: safety. For the first time in a long while, she didn't have to worry about the cold nights, what she would eat, or the constant threat of loneliness. Philip and Lily were there, smiling, and their embrace was the first of many that would shape this new life. After breakfast, Lily handed Hannah a surprise that made her heart race. Her guitar, her inseparable companion through years of hardship, had been restored. Each new string, each polished inch of wood, reminded Hannah of the nights on the streets and in the squares, when she had found courage through music. She sat on the porch, gently caressing the instrument, thinking of Jamie, of small victories, and of the challenges she had overcome. A wave of gratitude washed over her, not only for the parents she had reunited with, but for the entire journey that had shaped her. As Hannah settled into the rhythm of her new life, Philip and Lily explained the official adoption process. Documents, records, bureaucracies, none of it diminished the importance of what truly mattered. Hannah now had a real family, a home, and the right to live a childhood she had never fully experienced. The girl who had once wandered the streets with fear and distrust now felt genuine joy, mixed with an emotion that made her heart swell. Every simple gesture of family life felt magical: laughter at breakfast, conversations about school, plans for the future. But Hannah did not forget who had always stood by her side in difficult times. Jamie, her loyal friend, was about to embark on a new chapter of his life too. Philip and Lily, recognizing the importance of their friendship, opened their hearts and home to him. Jamie's arrival brought laughter, running, and endless stories of the streets, now shared with safety, affection, and guaranteed meals. Hannah watched, moved, as her friend integrated into the family, understanding that this gesture honored the loyalty that had never abandoned her. For the first time, there was no fear or loneliness between them, only a home filled with warmth and love. As Hannah adapted, the world outside continued to change. Martin, the host who had once planned cruel humiliations, faced the consequences of his actions. Justice acted swiftly. Legal proceedings, lost contracts and sponsorships, financial investigations. His career, built on manipulation and exploiting children, came to an abrupt end. News outlets and social media detailed his fall, and the public that had once admired him now saw him as a cautionary example of what happens when cruelty goes too far. Hannah, aware of the humiliation Martin had tried to impose, felt no desire for revenge, only relief. Somehow, the world had balanced the scales of justice. Hannah began performing as a young singer, now with confidence and support. Every show was a celebration of her journey, her courage, and her reunion with her family. The restored guitar, shining and polished, was more than an instrument. It symbolized resilience, the lonely nights, and the squares that had become stages for dreams. Each chord and song carried genuine emotion, and audiences felt the sincerity radiating from the girl who had overcome unimaginable adversity. Her performances were broadcast on television, shared across social media, and soon Hannah became known not only for her talent, but for her charisma and inspiring story that motivated children and adults alike. Fame, however, never took Hannah away from the essence that defined her. She remained humble, always remembering Jamie and the lessons life on the streets had taught her. Visits to the community, helping friends still facing hardships, these were all part of her growth. Philip and Lily saw their daughter shine not only as an artist, but as a generous and conscious human being. Every achievement was celebrated as a family, and every new step came with love, encouragement, and unwavering support. Even with a more comfortable routine full of opportunities, Hannah knew life would not always be easy. But now, instead of fear and uncertainty, she had courage and confidence. She knew she could face any challenge, just as she had faced Martin, Rachel, and the days on the streets, because she had discovered that the strongest power comes from within, from the talent she cultivated and the truth she carried with her. Every note played on the guitar was also a declaration. Her story would not be defined by poverty, bullying, or attempts at humiliation, but by the passion, courage, and love she carried. Her shows became increasingly in demand, and Hannah became an example for other children dreaming of transforming their lives through art. Each performance was marked by emotion, laughter, and applause, but also by the quiet pride of Philip and Lily, who saw their daughter not only shine on stage but grow into a strong, resilient human being. The family's support allowed her to enjoy each achievement without losing herself to the pressures of fame or fear of failure. At one of these shows, Hannah looked out at the audience and saw Jamie beside her parents, smiling with pride. The girl who once played in the squares in worn clothes and eyes alert to every danger of the streets now sang before thousands of people, each chord reflecting her journey of overcoming adversity. Music, which had always been her weapon and solace, had become a bridge between her past and the future, now full of possibilities. Hannah took a deep breath, closed her eyes for a moment, and felt that, finally, her life was truly beginning. This new beginning didn't mean fame or recognition alone. It meant family, friendship, freedom, and the certainty that dreams, even in the most difficult circumstances, could come true. Hannah remained a street girl at heart, but now with a safe home, a restored guitar, Jamie at her side, and music as a witness to the strength every challenge had built in her. Every day was an opportunity to sing, to smile, to love, and to inspire, showing the world that courage, talent, and truth always find a way, even when life seems against you. And so, Hannah moved forward, steady steps, clear notes, and an open heart, ready for every new stage, every new challenge, and every new dream life had to offer, knowing she would never be alone again, and that her talent and courage would always be rewarded. If this story touched your heart, tell us. Have you ever believed in a dream that seemed impossible? Share your answer in the comments and show your support by liking and subscribing. Every gesture helps spread courage and hope.